And welcome back, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I hope everybody is enjoying the week out there so far. We are just now 2 days away, two more sleeps away from the NHL 2024-2025 Stanley Cup playoffs kicking off. I cannot wait. I have said it a couple of times. I am done watching bad hockey. I've watched a lot of bad hockey this year, and I'm ready for some good hockey. And as you'll see here on this board, we have got a lot of good hockey coming up. Just again, a little bit of Christmas time here for us hockey fans. So let's dive in. We are going to take a look at the Western Conference brackets today, and I will follow that up either tomorrow or Saturday with the Eastern Conference. But we're going to dive right in here, and we're going to start with the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets, getting that top spot in the league, 116 points. Amazing year for them, and they are taking on the St. Louis Blues wildcard team. 96 points for them. Goals for the Jets on this season, they were third in the league, 3.35. Goals against 2.32, number one in the league. Any guesses why? It might be something to do with their goaltending, right? St. Louis, 3.05 goals for, 14th in the league, and goals against 2.82. That was good for 12th, tied for 12th. Season series for these teams are back on October 22nd. Winnipeg 3-2 winners over St. Louis. St. Louis returns the favor on December 3rd, winning 4-1. Shootout game on the 22nd of February. Winnipeg taking that 4-3, and then just recently here on April 7th, Winnipeg 3-1 winners. So they end up with that 3-1 record on the Blues for the season. So for Winnipeg, they do end the season 7-3 over their past 10, and now have just a great opportunity to exercise some of those first round demons. They last won a round back in 2021, beating Edmonton 4-0 before losing to Montreal in that second round. That was, of course, during the COVID years. With the best goaltender on the planet, the Jets are a significant favorite in this series, in my opinion. Hellebuyck's numbers this year 47, 12-3 record, 2.01 goals against, a 925 save percentage with 8 shutouts. I'm guessing you're going to see a very dialed in and motivated Hellebuyck, given the playoff performance from a year ago versus Colorado. We all know that did not go well for the Jets. They will be without Nikolai Ehlers for the series, listed as week to week with a foot injury. Very important player for this club. 24 goals, 39 assists for 63 points on the year. That was through 69 games. Gabe Vilardi has been out day to day, but I do imagine he will be ready to go for Saturday. Looked for an update before I went on here, couldn't find anything. They're probably keeping all that kind of hush-hush right now. For St. Louis, they've been in playoff mode for a while, right? One of the most pleasant surprises to this playoff picture this season. 7-2-1 down the stretch for them. When I recorded my St. Louis season preview, I didn't have them in the playoffs, but I did mention them as one of those kind of fringe teams that would be kind of fighting right down to the bitter end for a spot. Of course, the big story for them this season is the coaching change. Bringing in Jim Montgomery after he was fired in Boston, and after a 9-12-1 start for them. So kind of a rough start. They finished with 44 wins. So clearly the coaching change made a big, big difference here. And listen, while I feel Winnipeg is a heavy favorite, I won't be shocked if the Blues do try to push this to a 6 or 7 game series. They come in relatively healthy with a goalie who's bounced back, from some kind of lackluster years. Binnington posting 28, 22, and 5 record for himself. 2.69 goals against and a 900 save percentage, and has looked very, very solid since the Four Nations tournament. I do believe this is a rematch, right, of the Four Nations face-off with Hellebuyck and Bennington. Obviously, super happy for Monty that he gets the Blues in. It's nothing but former Jack Adams Award winners and former Boston Bruins coaches on that bench there with Claude Julien as an assistant. So good for the boys. I do have Winnipeg in 6 in this series. I do think St. Louis will play tough enough to steal a game or two, but I do think Winnipeg in 6. Moving on to maybe the best matchup of the playoffs, Dallas and Colorado. We have been anticipating this for a little while now. Dallas with 106 points, Colorado coming in with 102 points. Goals for Dallas, 3.35, tied for third in the league. Goals against 2.71, good for sixth. For Colorado, 3.33 goals for, good for sixth in the league, and a 2.82 goals against, tied for 12th. Colorado did have the edge, only three games, two and one on Dallas. Those games go back to November 29th, where Dallas won 5-3. Colorado got them back 6-3 on January 18th. And then an overtime game, Colorado taking it 4-3 back on March 16th. This has a potential to be the best first round matchup in the league this season. I look at both of these teams as Stanley Cup contenders. It sort of feels more like a conference final series rather than a first round series. Should be a ton of fun. Of course, I picked Dallas as my preseason Stanley Cup winner, so I feel like I kind of need to stick with that pick. Concerns about the club, though, if you're a Dallas fan, yeah, I think so, right? They're ending the season losing seven straight, 3-5-2 over the past 10. And Miro Heiskanen has been ruled out of game one already. No surprises here, but he hasn't played since January 28th against Vegas. A huge loss to the group, and you're hoping he can find his way onto the ice at some point this season or this series, if possible. Of course, the primary narrative here will be Mikko Rantanen facing the club that traded him away earlier this year. I tell you, the NHL has got to be just so happy that they've got this built-in storyline for the series. Already going to be great hockey, but to have this storyline with Rantanen facing his former club, it's just got to have them all sorts of excited. He's had a solid season. Listen, a weird season for him, of course, playing for three different teams, but 32 goals, 56 assists for 88 points, and has fit in very, very nicely with the Dallas Stars. For Dallas, they also get Tyler Seguin back. Uh, got into a game last night, so he is back after haven't played since early December until last night. So good to see him back. For Colorado, they end the season 5-4-1 over the past 10. And listen, big news for them. Gabriel Landeskog, oh baby, has been recalled from his rehab stint in the AHL. Uh, will we see him in the lineup on Saturday? I'm hoping so, but of course he hasn't played since 2022, dealing with that just crazy knee cartilage replacement surgery. So many questions as to whether he would ever play again. So, man, I am just so excited for him. I'm so excited for Colorado and cannot wait to see him back on the ice. I'm just wondering right now how Coach Bednar is going to employ him in the lineup. What line combination is he going to have him with? What situations will they put him in? How many minutes can he play? All these sorts of questions around a guy who hasn't played since 2022, been about 3 years. Other question marks for the Avs coming into the series are going to be on defense. Right now, both Ryan Lindgren and Josh Manson are dealing with injuries, and at this point are questionable to start the series. So that will be obviously something to watch and keep an eye on as this series goes on. Like I said, I picked Dallas at the start of the season. But McKinnon, he is my favorite player, and of course, I do love Charlie Coyle. Again, all those years here in Boston. Open for 7 games here, and quite honestly, I'm going to be very happy for either team. I kind of like both of these teams. Cannot wait for this one. I am sticking with Dallas. Dallas in 7. I want 7 games. I want them all to go to overtime. I want as much of this series as I can possibly get. Gonna be fun. Moving on now to the Vegas Golden Knights, winning the Pacific Division, 110 points, going up against the Minnesota Wild, getting that wild card one spot with 97 points for themselves. Goals for here for Vegas, 3.34, good for fifth in the league. Goals against, 2.61, good for third. So very good numbers there. For the Minnesota Wild, goals for 2.74, 25th in the league. We'll talk maybe a little bit about why they were so low. Goals against, 2.88, good for 15th. Vegas pretty much dominated this series 3-0 on the year. Going back to December 15th, Vegas winning 3-2. On January 12th, Vegas winning 4-1. And then on March 25th, Vegas 5-1 winners there. Listen, Vegas has been one of the quietest first place teams I can remember in recent history. And I'm sure they are absolutely in love with that, right? Nobody's paying attention to them. With all the storylines surrounding Winnipeg season, all the fun stuff with the Capitals and Ovi and other storylines, Vegas has just quietly gone about their business, and find themselves top of the Pacific Division once again. When the season started, I was slightly concerned about some of their roster, losses from the summer, but all those worries have gone completely out the door for me at this point. This team has scoring depth, they have size and physicality on the blue line, a relatively healthy lineup at this stage of the season, Stanley Cup pedigree, we know that. Um, and of course, a coach that has been here before and won here before. I believe the Golden Knights are going to be a very hard out and won't be shocked if they win the West again. For the Minnesota Wild, I just thought this was such an impressive season for them. I didn't have them in the playoffs. I, like many, thought the Central was just going to be too crowded for them to get in, and other teams, see Nashville, maybe would outpace them. Man, we were we were all wrong on that one. Their arrival to the playoffs is also um, quite impressive when you realize they played without two of their very best players for so much of the season. Joel Eriksson Ek only playing in 46 games and Kaprizov only 41. So, we go back to here, why they're 25th in the league in scoring. Well, when you don't have two of your goal scorers for almost called half the season, that's going to add up, right? So taking that into account, along with all the dead cap money they had to carry, through their roster, so they weren't able to play financially a full roster this year. Playoff appearance just felt unlikely. So it's just again very impressive that they're here. In net, Philip Gustafson, he has been brilliant. 31 wins, 19 losses, six overtime losses, and with a 2.57 goals against a 914 save percentage. I don't think we talk about him enough in the year he's having. Of course, Hellebuyck is overshadowing everybody, but Gustafson has been brilliant. Awesome year for him. And of course, this is the final run for Marc-Andre Fleury, who we don't expect to see much of in this series, health being considered. But he's capping off a Hall of Fame career, one of the most popular guys in the league, universally liked, universally respected. It's just great for him that he gets to end his career with a playoff run. Um, I think we're all going to miss him out there. But have Vegas in five in this one. I think it's one of the more clear cut series that I can see here throughout the NHL. But, should be fun. Maybe Minnesota will prove me wrong once again. And of course, it's not an NHL playoff if you don't have LA and Edmonton in the first round. Am I right? Is this Groundhog's Day if you're a Kings fan? But we do have the LA Kings sitting in that second spot in the Pacific, 105 points, facing off old friend, the Edmonton Oilers, sitting in third at 101 points. Uh, on the year, the LA Kings goals for 3.06, good for 13th. Goals against, absolutely fantastic. 2.44, good for second. For the Edmonton Oilers, goals for 3.16, good for 11th. And goals against 2.87, good for 14th. Tied for 14th there. LA did get the better of the regular season matchups. 3-1 record there. LA winning in overtime back on December 28th. Edmonton getting them 1-0 in what was a really good game back on January 13th. And then recently here, LA beating the Oilers on the 5th of April, 3-0. And then just a couple of days ago on the 14th, 5-0. Kind of throw that one out right. It was not a lot of regulars there for Edmonton, but this is probably one of the hardest series for me to pick this season. I've been going back and forth in my mind about this one. All the history, points you to Edmonton winning this one, but the play on the ice this season would kind of more punch to the Kings, finally maybe being able to get over this Edmonton hump. Of course, one difference for this year and this series is that LA will have home ice advantage, and they come in having success against this club, as we just highlighted. Um, Home ice does feel a bit more important, I would say, for the Kings. Even if it's just kind of a mental advantage, it just kind of has that feeling that's important for the Kings to have gotten that two seed and locked up that home ice advantage. Listen, the Kings have impressed me this season. I didn't like their summer moves. I wasn't a fan of their activity at the trade deadline, and I was very worried about their goaltending situation. and figured it might cost them in the long run this year. That just wasn't the case at all, however. Darcy Kuemper was simply brilliant all year, posting a 31, 11, and 7 record, 2.02 goals against average, and a 922 save percentage. Didn't see that coming at all this year when they made that trade. Playing, of course, in front of a very physical, very sound defensive unit. They're 2.44 goals against, of course, as we just highlighted, second in the league. So they're very tough to generate scoring chances on, let alone scoring goals at all, right? Very, very difficult. They do make it tough. Tanner Jeannot does remain out, but the rest of the roster does appear fairly healthy moving into the playoffs. I know there was some concerns about Quinton Byfield, took kind of a nasty hit from Nurse a couple games ago, but I believe he is looking good to go. So I don't think there'll be any worries there for him. For the Oilers, it's been an adventure. It's been an adventurous season for them. Another just slow start out of the gate. Star players playing banged up, etc., etc., etc. But through it all, they've put themselves back in the playoff picture. Leon Draisaitl capping off just a remarkable season, 52 goals, 54 assists, and 106 points. And listen, for McDavid, while his goal count may be down a bit, he does finish with 100 points once again, 26, 74, and 100 line there. Just an assist machine for him. They're both going to be playing, again, with some nagging injuries coming in, but nobody's going to cry for them. So many players are playing at under 100% this time of season. It's almost kind of expected. Concerning, though, for Edmonton is the status of defenseman Mattias Ekholm. He's already been ruled out of this first round. Such an important piece to this defensive unit. If they can somehow survive this round, getting Ekholm back for round 2 will be absolutely paramount for them if they want to continue moving forward. Goaltending has been a story, right? This year for this group all season with some concerning inconsistencies. Stuart Skinner, I mean, you look at his numbers, he finishes with 26 wins, 2.81 goals against, and an 896 save percentage. Calvin Pickard, 22 wins for him in a backup role, 2.71 goals against, and a 900 save percentage. This has been a rocky goalie room throughout the year. I do believe the team wanted to upgrade the net before the trade deadline, but they were not able to. With one of your top D-men out of this series, Skinner is going to have to be at his very, very best and may have to steal a game or two in this series for the Oilers to move on. And is Skinner the starter? I think he is. I think you probably see some fans out there calling for Pickard to get a game in this one. We'll see what happens. It is hard, though, for me to pick against two of the best players on the planet, but I also feel like the Kings are just better defensively. They're better in net. And those are two absolutely huge components in the playoffs. I think it goes back and forth a little bit. I do like the LA Kings in 7. So I am going a little chalky up here, kind of picking all the top seeds, but we'll wait for our Eastern Conference breakdown. I may have a couple upsets to talk about over there, so should be fun. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening tonight. If you do like what you're hearing here, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Enjoy the hockey coming up on Saturday if I don't talk to you before then. And until next time, everybody, be kind, show love, and God bless.